This is Real Race Talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
On a Thursday night, there's a damn race on, of course. All great plans get screwed up somehow. This is the Revved Up Sports Show. Give us a follow on Twitter at RevvedUpATX, as well as on Instagram. Social distancing at its best. Down south, it is Showtime Bobby Chaffee, Rodney Rodriguez up north. As we split it up and we keep doing this good stuff on your race night. Bobby, how are you, man?
I'm not doing too bad for Thursday. Mother Nature is at least cooperating down here. Got a little bit of thunder in the background, but hopefully don't have anything to knock out the power and the internet like it has the last couple of days.
We've got the generator in place just in case that we run into a problem when it comes to Wi-Fi. And when we talk about generator on our budget, generator for us is a Wi-Fi hotspot. So we've got that good to go. If we run out of power, well, I mean, these things will run for a little bit, but it's crazy times, man. Crazy storms we saw yesterday, and here we are again. You know, we're still going through the pandemic, but hey, did you see the governor, Bobby? The governor actually making an announcement today.
Yeah, kind of an under the radar announcement about him allowing fans at outdoor sports venues. So that's good. That's promising for the all the college programs around here, except for my wonderful UTSA Roadrunners, who are the only ones that play inside a dome. Yep.
Yeah, they're inside. I saw that, and that's that'll affect. Jerry World, they can open the roof, and Minute Maid Park, they can open the roof there as well. So. Yeah, a little bit of, and you're right, Bobby. It's Texas is really starting to open stuff up, and with this, this helps the racetracks. I mean, because now you have your definitive, outdoor sport thing. Go ahead and do your thing. It seems like, but I was watching last weekend. Our local racing is very active right now.
Oh, all of them are really active and really ready to go. So that's a good thing in terms of everything that they've been set to do. We told everybody to just bide their time, and it looks like the places that did are doing okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Coming up on the show at 7:00, and really super cool that he's still doing it, especially with a primetime race coming up. We will be joined by the Herminator. Kenny Wallace will jump in. And we'll talk about hashtag Real Race Talk. That ought to be some good stuff as we talk to Kenny. I know when we first talked to Kenny, Kenny said, I'm not doing a whole lot of interviews right now, but, hey, I'll jump on with you guys. So I think that'll be good. We'll get a good perspective and good opinion there from Kenny. One of the good dudes. He and Schrader, those guys, Bobby, that's the racers right there.
Oh, yeah, lots of guys. They retired from full-time Cup competition, but they still managed to race more than they did when they were running for the Cup Series. So lots of cool stuff. Those are pretty good buddies, too, Kenny Schrader and Kenny Wallace.
Yeah, absolutely. As you check in here tonight, because we will kind of the plan, what Bobby and I were thinking with this, especially with the Cup race going on tonight, and it looks like they will get this in because I was kind of checking some radar there, and I think that they should be able to get this in without any problem. So the thought is we'll kind of go up here, Wallace on at 7, and then we'll cut everybody loose so they can get to this race. But you know how that goes, Bobby. Hell, nobody watches this stuff anyway.
No, not really. We just do it for the fun of it on some nights, especially on these Thursday nights. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, no doubt. Thoughts on the 600? We did get the 600 run in there. TV ratings just a tad bit down. You had a rain delay going on in there as well. But again, I see a lot of folks frowning on the 600 and talking about the 600. But a lot of times the 600 is that very mundane race.
There was a lot of interesting action with it in terms of how well it started. I mean, there was good action. You had the stages dominated by a couple of different people. Alex Bowman went away and walked away with it for those first two segments. But the thing that surprised me the most was the end and how just challenging it was. Chase Elliott, when you have a lead, if you're in the lead with 5 to go and that caution comes out, you're going to lose the race.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what you do. If you come in, everybody stays out. If you stay out, everybody's coming in. It doesn't matter. And history has shown that when you have the leader with 5 to go, they never end up winning the race.
Yeah, and then the pit stop move there, you kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. I mean, that's one of those situations where if you're going to go down pit road, the other guys aren't, and you're putting yourself in a spot there. And I felt bad for the team. And when you go back and listen to the audio, the pit communication, you hear just the dejectedness there in Chase, and he's like, man, here we go again. But you had to know that somebody was going to be the big loser in that case, and it was Chase. And then later on, it was Jimmy that was a big loser. Man, he had a really good night, but all for naught. Disqualified, 40th place, started last place tonight.
Oh, well, I mean, him and Boyer right back there after that Boyer's right front suspension failure. I think they said an A-arm broke on that thing, so even worse than your normal tire. So Clint Boyer, he tried to knock the wall down going back to his short track days, but nobody really brought up the fact that Jimmy Johnson got disqualified, right? Like it was a headline story, but you didn't really hear about it. No, we had our typical naysayers who were like, "Oh, hey, look, the Golden Boy got disqualified and got last place," but he becomes one of only the second or third guys that's really happened to. Eric Jones was the first.
Yeah,
he lost that top 4. Well, when the Gibbs cars finished 1, 2, 3, 4. So who knows? It's still going to be. Before the end of this year, there still will be a car that will win a race and get disqualified.
I saw a lot of folks asking, what would have happened, if Jimmy had won that race, if Johnson had won that race, and they'd have found something wrong. They obviously found something wrong in that rear end alignment there with the optical scanning station. What would happen if he'd have won? I'm like, well, hell, he'd have gotten disqualified. I mean, it's you can say what you want. I mean, they're not going to play favorites. I mean, if they're going to play favorites, they'd let him stay second. Hell, he hadn't been second in how long? So I don't think that'd have been anything, different had that been the case.
I think that he handled it well, just like the class act, like he's been doing his whole career. I think more people have been open to Jimmy Johnson now as a competitor than they were when he was kicking everybody's ass.
Yeah, I think now it's, you remember Jeff Gordon. I mean, for the longest time, folks didn't like Jeff Gordon. And then right there towards the end, you remember TMS. I mean, he won that race at TMS, and hell, it's you'd have thought Earnhardt won that race the way people were cheering for him. And that tends to be what happens as the career comes to an end. And he's got a lot of folks hoping that he's going to be able to pull one off here at some point, which I think he will, because that team is a lot better. Hendrick is a lot better. The Chevrolets are a lot better. He'll get his here coming up pretty quick.
I think they're going to get a win. I think with the surprise of Alex Bowman running as well as he has, Chase Elliott, you could say that Chase Elliott probably should have won a couple more races than what he won so far this year. I mean, he was dead set to win at Darlington. He had the newer tires, and Denny Hamlin and those boys didn't, and it was one of those where you knew that by chance he was going to come in and have a shot to win that race. He really was the best car there towards the end at the 600, probably should have won that race. So he's had a chance to win the last couple. Might even have a chance to do something special tonight. You never know. He's got that momentum from the Truck Series win the other night.
Yeah, and it has been Kyle Busch was a story there. He got beat, and I see a lot of folks, that are saying he's a bad loser, which maybe he is. But I mean, the guy just don't like to lose. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, most guys, you don't get in there to run second or third. I mean, you get in there to win, especially when you're Kyle Busch and you're used to winning. So I don't. Obviously, he's pissed off at his folks. So he's going to go in there and he's going to make the changes that are needed. And tonight he's going to be very fired up and ready to go. So expect big things there. But it has been a good week. It's been nice to have these races like we have tonight. It should have been last night, and then we had or Tuesday night or whenever that was. So I've really enjoyed that. But at the same time, I don't know if we're getting to the saturation factor already. You think?
I think we're getting close to it.
Yeah.
Especially that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was going to be a bit rough.
Yeah.
But the thing that's going to be, I think once we get to Bristol, I think Bristol is going to be the first track that we really notice the fact that there's not fans in the grandstands, just because of the way that all those cameras are. You're going to see more empty seats this week just due to the camera angles there at Bristol. But I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of really good races coming up. If you pay attention to some of the calendars, they got a lot of double headers. We'll talk about that one more as it gets closer to Miami. But that Sunday is a doubleheader there at Homestead. You got the Xfinity Series in the afternoon, and then you got the Cup Series at that later that afternoon at like 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely a way of it could be a way of the future. I think one thing that NASCAR is going to do as they watch this is, you had the really good TV ratings, obviously, when this came back, because now we're seeing soccer series starting to come back. And I think here in Texas with the governor, with what we heard today, that's going to open up a lot of different opportunities there for professional sports. I think that other states are going to follow suit, and that we will beginning to see that gradual reopening where everything is eased up just a little bit, but we're going to get back into the normal, and we seriously are. I think where these midweek races, hopefully if they continue, are going to be nice, Bobby, for our sport, is because you'll have the stuff that's going to start coming back. You're going to have baseball. The NBA's trying to figure out a way to structure a playoff system, so they're trying to get something put together. I think this midweek stuff will actually afford NASCAR the opportunity, especially when you're not having to get fans in the stands, because that's when it gets tough. Because people do work still, I think. So I think it's a good way of the future, especially a way of the present right now for NASCAR.
Well, I think the midweek races will work. I think they still have some logistical challenges, even if they bring it back. I think that we talked about it before on the archives. You can think of the tracks that it might work at. Darlington on a Wednesday night makes sense because it's so close to Charlotte.
Yeah.
Adding a third race at Charlotte is fine. You have the All-Star race, but I think if they move the All-Star race to midweek there at Nashville, that could work too when you pull it the week of the 600.
Yeah. Thanks to all the folks checking in there on Facebook here this evening. Got a lot of folks checking in there, and that's really good, especially with the Cup race going on. And a big shout out, like we were talking earlier, like we've had racetracks here in the state that are doing their thing. Congratulations to all these tracks that are actually getting their races pulled off. And I can tell you, just from what I saw this weekend at Cotton Bowl, and then later at Texana, and then of course we've got the doubleheader at Heart of Texas coming up. Cotton Bowl is going to get fired up again. South Texas, they are definitely not lacking in the pit area, and I think that's just where these guys are ready to go racing.
I think so. I mean, you got a lot of pent up energy. You spent all that winter time working on your race cars, and then you had an extra 2.5 months to fine tune it and make it even better. So the fact that these guys are ready to race is really not that big of a surprise to anybody, including myself.
Yeah, and I mean, congratulations to the racetracks for getting this pulled off. I mean, it's I would think a lot of it is that there's probably a lot of apprehension. I mean, because I could tell you, I was there at CBS on Saturday night, and for me, it felt normal. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it felt and seemed very normal, and that's. But I mean, the apprehension has to be. I mean, folks are looking at this differently. I mean, a lot of folks are really afraid of this, and I think most of us just don't know what to think. There's a bunch that don't give a damn, but I think that many of us are just kind of in it's just a puzzle pieces right now. But the tracks are doing a really good job, and I just want to remind the folks, when you go sit in those grandstands, because you can now, without any question. I mean, just try to do what you're supposed to be doing, whether you want to or not.
Well, there's going to definitely be some challenges with social distancing. Just remember the revved up rule. If you can't stay 6 inches, remember at least stay the urinal length apart. Do your part and stay the urinal length apart. Remember, you can touch the elbows. And if you touch the elbows like that, then you're probably just far enough away. But yeah. Try to stay your 6 feet away. Yeah. Social distancing at its finest.
Yeah, and want to give a real shout out, not to, like I said, all the tracks did a really, really good job, but Texana Raceway Park, I mean, because that, for them, this was not only trying to get the place open through all of this health event that we're going through, but trying to get the place open again. And I saw a couple of incidents there, and that's stuff where, the loose nut behind the wheel is the one that the racetrack can't control, depending on what's going to happen there. So just kind of get that out of the way. The competition looked really, really good. And like we said, there were just a lot of cars there, and that's the main thing. I think the future's pretty bright. I haven't been to Texana, Bobby. I know you have. But just the way where that racetrack sits, it kind of sits right there in the middle. And, I mean, you got Owen Pittman. I mean, I think they're going to do really, really well moving forward.
Yeah, Owen's got a lot of promoting experience, from asphalt to dirt tracks to running racing series. So if anybody can make it work, it is Owen Pittman. it's in a unique spot because it's in the middle of nowhere, which I guess you could technically say Edna itself is in the middle of nowhere. But there's also a lot of you got to go through Edna to get to the other side of it to get to the racetrack. We're gonna have to get you down there one night just so you can finally say that you went to Texana Raceway.
Yeah, I definitely want to try to get on the tour and get out as much as possible. And as we talk about that, I mean, we flip the calendar here in a couple of days, and we're on to June. And before we know it, June 20th is going to roll around, and the Texas Short Track Racing Series will fire up out there with the Dalahousie Derby at Houston Motorsports Park. So it will continue to cycle around, and we'll get tracks opened up. Things are going to happen. Weather, of course, is always going to be a concern. We'll always have to deal with stuff like that. But it really is starting to feel, like racing season. And I got to tell you, I kind of don't mind starting later. This has been kind of nice.
Well, I've been able to get a lot of stuff off the to-do list, if you will.
Yeah,
although
absolutely
not as much as I really wanted to get done, but still had a chance to be pretty productive, at least on the weekends when we didn't have the show on Saturday to do there for a couple of weeks out, and then having everything set up like that. But hey, look, it's finally here, right? What we've been waiting for is here, and it's everybody's ready to go. Everybody seems, I think we can say that the sense of normalcy is back to a certain extent, and so that's always the best way to move forward, is when everybody's set and ready to go and move forward.
And that's a key to remember, that we are getting back to normal, but at the same time, things are different, and we just need to follow, just follow along and do as we should. Speaking of that Saturday show that Bobby's talking about, that's 11 a.m. to noon on the Horn over in Austin, on Austin Radio. You can catch that at hornfm.com, and on the Horn app. That's totally free to download as well. All of those Saturday shows are podcasted at revvedupsportshow.com, along with all of these, YouTube, and of course everywhere. I mean, it's easy to find. I mean, I'm finding this show on websites I've never heard of. So I guess we're doing something right, man. I guess we're doing something right. But so we're getting this in tonight. Then we get into the next, like you said, Bristol. We're going to get Atlanta going. And I kind of like this next stretch. I like this next stretch of what we're about to see.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good old school tracks feeling in there. You got Bristol, you got Atlanta, you got Homestead, and eventually you're going to end up having Talladega up in there. So lots of really cool tracks coming up. The Xfinity Series announced that they're going to have their Dash for Cash again, a couple of different races. So they're actually using one of the double headers. I think they're at Miami as one of the races, and then the other one's not.
Yeah. Again, Kenny Wallace coming on at 7 o'clock. We'll talk to Herman for a little bit, and then we'll get you on to your race. So, Bobby, just from what you've kind of seen from an outsider at this point with the local stuff, the challenges for them, they're not being challenged by getting cars in the pits, obviously, because we're seeing a bunch of them. If you had your promoter's hat on, priority at the moment. I mean, because sponsorship is tough, and that's where I know it's hard for these tracks. You got rent to pay, you got everything you got to do. Social distancing, which is something that we've never had to deal with before. Officially, I don't know. From what you've seen, your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I think the biggest challenge was just getting initially opened. Right now that everybody's got at least one or two races underneath the belt, they now have a better idea of what to expect, right? There was that big solid block of the 800-pound gorilla in the room of the unknown.
Yeah.
The unknown of, okay, so what happens when people get here? You got to know, there were some people that said that there wasn't a lot of social distancing there at Cotton Bowl. I wasn't there, didn't get to see it, but I think you have to see what was going to happen to know the better way of how to make it roll better next week. I think you're going to see some changes at Cotton Bowl, both in the pits, both in the grandstands. And so you'll be able to kind of see it. Same thing with South Texas. They finally got a show or two under their belts, trying to get everything else rocking and rolling that way. And so I think now that you're initial, you got to knock the dust off of it, right? Yeah. It might not be sitting at the straightest arrow, but you got the dust knocked off it. Now you can kind of sit there and polish it up a little bit and kind of put it in the direction that you want it.
Yeah, and so much of that really is to keep people apart. What I was noticing the other night is that there's not really a problem as long as there's activity going on. I mean, obviously, right now is not the time to have, a 45-minute intermission or anything like that, or on the track meet and greet. Of course, you can't do that. But, I mean, you keep everything going, and that really doesn't allow. I mean, if people are watching races and there's something to occupy their time, you keep them apart, and that's really what needs to happen. And that would be my advice to these racetracks is, man, just keep your show steamrolling. I mean, right now is not the time to have a 6-hour show. I mean, unless you've got 6 hours of nonstop entertainment. I mean, if you've got stuff going on, that's going to keep people apart.
Well, I think so. Once we've noticed it before. Once you have people locked into their seats and they have their eyes locked on the racetrack, then that's the way to keep them from moving. As long as the racing action's good, they're not gonna move over. Occasionally, you might see somebody scoot over from one side to the other,
Sure,
kind of talk to their buddies. But for the most part, once the racing action's there, they don't pay attention to the person beside them. They pay attention to the action on the racetrack.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what they're wanting to do, and a big pat on the back to all the track operators that are trying to do this. And I mean, we have been critical on this program about doing it or not doing it, and that is seriously because I've been asked that. It's like I've been told point blank, you don't seem very supportive about all of this, and it's like, it's not that I'm not being supportive. What concerns me is I don't want anything to happen right now that's going to affect us down the road. But what I think with what Governor Abbott said today, I think that gives you a little bit of a cushion, and that's really, I think, where we're in a much better place.
Well, I think so, because now, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, it was that you didn't want to be a professional racetrack, right? Because you're a professional fan with no fans.
Right.
Now you want to be a professional racetrack because you get a chance to stay open and get more people in the grandstands.
That's a great point, man. 2 weeks ago, we were not professional sports. We are now. But it's super good. I mean, we're headed in the right direction. I think as long as that curve is flattened down and people just are good. Although I did today, I was out with one of the girls today, and we went out. Kendall was going to get eyeglasses, and I mean, you had to go in there, you had to sign up, you had to go wait in your car, and we waited and waited and waited, didn't get in, and we got home. We'd been home an hour, and they called and said, "Okay, come on in." But of course, we'd already left. So it's definitely a different time out there. The masks are a question. If you think you need a mask, wear it. If you don't. Just don't get up in people's face, and it's going to be fine.
Yeah, everything will be fine. Everybody's just got to you got to take a step back because you're okay with not wearing a mask, just be careful, and the other people respect their right that if they want to wear a mask, let them wear their mask. It's pretty much that simple.
No doubt.
If you come through, all you have to do is just have at least the common courtesy to let everybody be, right?
Yeah.
If you're standing too close and somebody kind of gives you that evil eye through that mask, hell, take a step back.
Yeah.
Chill out. And we're all guilty of it too. You always kind of find yourself up. I noticed it the other day when I had some of the pest control guy come over to the house. He had his stuff all up in his mask and everything else, and I found myself standing kind of right next to him having a conversation.
Yeah.
Didn't really think anything of it. I don't think he did either, but it was after the fact that I'm like, you know what, maybe I did get a little too close.
Yeah, and if people want to wear the mask, that's great. But if you're not wearing one and you see people with them, probably not the people you want to go cruising right up next to. And I mean, Bobby, I'm taking your case out of the picture here, because if he was that worried, he'd have sprayed you with insecticide or something, and
that's true.
Would have taken care of that. But anyway, it's all good. We just need to get along. There's lots of other things. If you've been watching the news today, Lord knows there's lots of other things going on, but we won't get into any of that. This is not the time or place for that kind of stuff. What we will do is take a break, because coming up on the other side, we're going to get a real good perspective of just the times right now and just racing. We'll talk national, we'll talk local, because this dude does it all. On the other side, it's Kenny Wallace is going to hit the Revved Up Sports Show hotline. Bobby's down south. I am up north. Stick around. More Revved Up Sports Show coming up.
Saturdays at noon, Revved Up ATX takes over the Horn airwaves. Rodney Rodriguez and Bobby Chaffee discuss the world of motorsports, including winners and losers at 12:15 and places for races at 12:45. It's Revved Up ATX, Saturdays at noon on the Horn, where Austin talks racing. #Real Race Talk.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels?
I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of two people, but it has.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org, brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Bush's Chicken is a proud supporter of area schools, athletic programs, and booster clubs. With stores in Cedar Park, Round Rock, Georgetown, both North and South Austin, and now our newest store in Pflugerville. Bush's serves the Texas standard in real hand-battered fried chicken and crispy tenders, tasty rolls, and that famous Bush's sweet tea.
I love Bush's Chicken.
Bush's Chicken. It's good, good, good.
Hashtag Real Race Talk from Texas. This is the Revved Up Sports Show at Revved Up ATX. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram. Showtime Bobby Chaffee, Rodney Rodriguez, as we talk to you on a rescheduled Thursday night cup racing night at Charlotte. Let's go to the hotline and let's have some hashtag Real Race Talk. On the line, we have the man himself, Kenny Wallace. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm doing exactly what you all are doing. I'm sitting here watching this cup race.
So, Kenny, what do you think? What do you think of this midweek stuff, man? We've a lot of folks have wanted this for a long time, and man, I'm kind of jazzed up. I don't mind this too bad.
Oh, I absolutely love it. I think that I feel like NASCAR has been looking for something a little bit different all these years, and leave it up to this crazy coronavirus time, And I think it's fantastic, I mean, it's been a good test, and I think it's what we've been looking for.
Yes, sir.
So, Kenny, where do you think the Cup Series is at, or NASCAR as a whole, in terms of kind of the momentum they had? Obviously, if you take away the Corona stuff, it seemed like there was a big wave of momentum coming out of that West Coast swing that we haven't felt in a while. Is NASCAR kind of in a good place, minus all the COVID-19 stuff?
I think the fans are smart enough to realize that NASCAR, is trying, with Brian France now gone, not literally gone, but now with Jim France, all the drivers talking good about, NASCAR is back, big leadership with Jim France being at the racetrack, with all the talk of the changes. I don't think you can insult the fans' intelligence. I think the fans are willing to give NASCAR another break. I think that they can see that they're really trying. And let's face it, the races truly are good. I mean, they're very entertaining. Listen, you're not going to run a 500-mile race and it's not going to be exciting the whole race. Part of NASCAR and its allure is the phrase man and machine.
Yes, sir.
If we want excitement all the time, then it needs to be 20 laps. But NASCAR has always been about man and machine, and they're trying. And we're in just such a different world now where everybody wants action. And it's hard to give everybody action. 300 straight laps.
That's exactly right. And Kenny, Bobby and I are short track guys. I mean, down here in Texas, we've grown up around this thing, and so we try to tell folks, because folks do frown on NASCAR, whether it's good or not. But I mean, we do need them to be successful as short track people. Wouldn't you think? I mean, because that's how we attract new people. They see that and they relate what we do to that.
Well, I'll just give you the circumstances. As you know, I own a short track. Macon Speedway in Macon, Illinois, around Springfield, Illinois, and Decatur. Of course, I own that track, but we all own it equally. Tony Stewart, Kenny Schrader, myself, and Bob Sargent. And here's what I always tell people. 10 years ago, people were just awful. They were talking how bad they disliked NASCAR. And I said, hold on. Hold your thought for a minute. Have you ever looked at your local short track lately? So, short tracks were doing god awful. I mean, so the whole entertainment industry, even baseball, wasn't really doing very good. The only thing really doing very good is football.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the whole, everything has been down. But as far as we hate NASCAR, I think it's because everybody has been, just not in their right mind over the last 10 years. When you look at 2008, 2009, that was when the mortgage meltdown hit.
Right.
And that is a direct correlate right there, because 2006 was the highlight. That is when NASCAR was at its best. And that came from Mike Hilton. I was shocked to hear that. That was when Dale Jr. was on top of his game. That's when he was wearing his hat backwards, MTV.
Yeah.
2006 was the highlight of NASCAR.
It sure was.
All right, so Kenny, let's talk about the. We've seen it kind of here and there. We talked about everybody needing to be successful from NASCAR down to the short track level. Is there the disconnect that there used to be a couple of years ago, where you've got the guys that they only want to watch these open wheel modifieds, they don't really care what happens Sunday, or is that gap closing between some of the fan base? Between it really does matter what happens on Sunday actually affects Saturday.
It's a little bit of both. It is a disconnect that we don't have the drivers anymore that came from somewhere. In other words, let me give you some examples. Dale Earnhardt Sr. was the Marlboro man. He was our country guy. He grew up, in the South, and you had Earnhardt Sr. He was just, the mustache, the cowboy hat. And then all of a sudden, you had Rusty Wallace, my brother, come out of the Midwest, who had a following of ASA, and American Speed Association. ASA, that was a big deal.
Yep.
Then you had Kenny Schrader, who had a big USAC following. You had all the USAC dirt car fans. And then I can go on and on. But all of a sudden, ASA closed up, USAC closed up, and nobody enjoyed following drivers anymore. And the drivers that were coming along, they did not have a following. Joey Logano did not have a following. You can go down the list. The drivers quit bringing followings with them. And I'm not saying that's everything, but, when you really look at it, there was just, racing was kind of fading on a local level and on a regional level. And, like I said, we lost the USAC stock cars. We lost ASA. And we lost those series way before NASCAR was going bad. They went bad on their own.
Yeah.
So it was just calamity corner. It was just a lot of things going bad at one time.
Yeah, absolutely. Down here in the South, with All Pro, with Bob Harmon's All Pro, that was
right.
Man, if that thing came rolling to San Antonio or Corpus, man, we were having a shit fit here, because that was a big deal. That was a huge deal. But
you bring up a good point. I forgot. Yeah, even All Pro closed down all by themselves.
Yeah. That was a good one. So Kenny, for you, track operator, as you mentioned there, you guys. Short track racing as well. We feel the pains as well. This sport's gotten awful dadgum expensive. You as a track operator, because I know we've got a lot of our Texas track operators that are checking in right now. Your challenges and like goals to get past some of that stuff.
Yes, our challenges have always been, how do we create excitement? How do you encourage the fans to come to the racetrack? What can we do to make them happy? Do they want a free hat? Are they not coming because we don't have good rivalries at the short track?
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to do to encourage fans to come? But now listen, we got to be honest. The world has changed.
Yeah.
During our glory days, now you stop and think about it. When there was All Pro, ASA, all those great series, there was nothing to do.
Yeah.
we hardly had MTV.
Yep.
We didn't have to. There's so much stuff to do now. Back in the 80s, there wasn't a lot to do. There really wasn't. And now there's just you know, racing has to compete with everything, you know. And what it is, once again, it's how do you convince fans to bring their whole family on a Friday or Saturday night and watch racing? How do you tell them, hey, come, it's exciting? So you used to not have to do that, and now you do.
Yeah, for sure.
So Kenny, let's talk about your life now that you're not one of the full-time Cup Series drivers. It seems that you kind of came along and you felt yourself kind of getting back in the groove. You had your Sirius XM show with Brad Gilley, and now you've got kind of retired from that. I mean, is the retirement bug minus some of the races that you got? Is it as good as everybody told you that it might be?
You know, I'm having the time of my life. You know, it just, you know, TV was shocked that I quit and retired. Actually, just talked to some of my bosses. They said they missed my entertainment, and I said, listen, I miss my TV friends. I don't miss those airports and those lonely nights in my hotel room by myself.
Yeah.
I was lonely. You know, and it was just too much. And then, you know, on the radio side, you know, Buddy Baker passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, Daniel Norwood, who was the boss, who is the boss of Sirius XM Radio, he called me up and, you know, really twisted my wrist. And I said, okay, I'll help you out for 1 month. And I remember I was in Las Vegas running the Duel in the Desert Dirt Race. And I said, okay, I'll do it. But I only do it on one term. I said, do not censor me. It's the late shift. You know I cuss. You know I'm controversial. They said, no, the show's meant for you. It's late at night. Do what you want to do. You know, we're Sirius XM Channel 90. We're 10 down from Howard Stern.
Yeah.
So, you know, I did not make an effort to cuss. But I just my deal, and then the show was a hit.
Yeah.
But you know, I got 3 years into it, and then the same thing happened to me. 3 hours on Monday night, 3 hours on Tuesday night, and I couldn't go do anything. Yeah. You know, I couldn't go race my summer national in my dirt car. I couldn't go watch my Cardinals play baseball.
Yep.
I couldn't go watch my Blues play hockey. The radio just took up too much time. So you know what? I just quit everything. I needed a big life change, and now I'm having. I love my life. Do I want to go back to radio? No, hell no. Do I enjoy listening to radio? Yes, I love listening to radio. Yeah. Do I want to give up all my time ever again? No. I'm 50. I'll be 57 in August, and all I want to do is race my dirt car. I love it. Yeah. I love traveling, and I like racing my dirt cars.
That's awesome. And thank you, Kenny, because like I know when we first talked, you said, well, I'm not doing a lot of that stuff like this, but hey, man, I appreciate you doing this for us down here. Kenny Wallace with us on the Revved Up Sports Show hotline. So let's talk about that dirt track racing. So you travel around the country, and that really kind of puts it back in perspective, doesn't it? You know, we do this because, hell, we're all race fans, and we love this. We've grown up. We don't know anything different. And when you go back to your roots, you go back to the short tracks, you get down there, you get down and dirty and just blend in with every damn body else. That's what it's all about. That's what brought us to it in the first place.
Right. And exactly what you said right at the very end. You know, that's why we love racing in the first place. You know, we grew up here in St. Louis. My brother Rusty Wallace, my brother Mike Wallace, myself, Kenny Schrader, Carl Edwards. You know, I mean, you know, you name it. I mean, you know, Jeremy. You know, all of us. We were racers, and then we made it to NASCAR, and then, you know, I got a little older, and I said, hey, it's just time to quit this stuff, and I really wanted to go local short track racing.
Yeah.
I get the biggest kick out of it. I love it. What I love about what I'm doing now, see, I didn't grow up dirt racing.
Yeah. I
just really enjoy dirt racing. It's a load of fun. We ran 75 races last year.
Wow.
We take it serious. I work hard in the shop. We win a lot of races. We lose a lot of races. So it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy the process of, working on my own car. You got to remember now, 1984. Let's go back to 84. 1984, I'm a Winston Cup crew chief for driver Joe Rutman, driving the Levi Garrett smokeless tobacco car. So remember, I'm a mechanic fabricator first. And then I became a race car driver. I didn't start racing until I was 22. So I'm a mechanic first. I really enjoy working on my car and driving it.
Love it.
So, Kenny, you got a new show, or not a show, you got a segment coming up tomorrow with Jamie Little on Fox about off the grid or off the racetrack. How cool is that to have people see you in a different light from when you used to be back on that TV screen full time?
Well, my friend, I'm saying this nicely. I'm not being sarcastic. They're jealous of me.
Yeah, they are.
Well, listen, I saved my money. I did because I was never comfortable. So I always saved my money. And I've done something that they all want to do. It's doing TV is not all a bed of roses. It's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever my friends from TV call me, I enjoy being with them. Jamie Little's a great athlete. She's a great lady. And then, even being on, Dale and our Junior's podcast, being on Michael Waltrip's show, all my friends call me and because they watch me on social media, and I like to share what I'm up to. And so, I really enjoy being with Jamie Little because she's a gamer. She's a hell of an athlete. She's in great shape, and she can relate. She's a fierce competitor. She's always reported on, motocross racing and racing. So she asked some really good questions, and I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, that lady right there is one of the best in the business. We've had her on here before, and I mean, just great perspective that she shares. So Kenny, quickly, let me ask you. So here we are trying to work our way through this thing that we're having to deal with right now. The rest of 2020 for racing, obviously we're behind. NASCAR's trying to get caught up. A lot of the short tracks are behind. How do you think this is all gonna pan out? We still have some obstacles to go. I know here in Texas, they're gonna allow some fans in and so forth, but gonna be tough the rest of the way.
It's a disaster. It is a disaster. So thank God for TV money. Because you and I are paying $10 a month for our TV package, or however, but the TV money is what's keeping NASCAR going right now. The only reason that even dirt racing, like the Lucas Oil Dirt Series or, Dirt on Dirt or Dirt Vision, the only reason there's any type of dirt racing going on right now, like we just saw Lucas Oil doing down at East Bay, is because, pay-per-view. And they're sharing that with the racetracks. And, but, as far as, normal local racing, I mean, we're looking pretty decent in Missouri now. Missouri's opened up. Our first night of racing starts Saturday night. But we've raced a couple times already. And pay-per-view for, the World of Outlaws. They allowed about 1,500 people in the grandstands. The year is a disaster, but I'll say I think we can save it. I think we end the year on a high note. We can definitely look for this coronavirus to start ramping back up in September. They're going to, as soon as it starts getting chilly out, they're going to make a big deal out of it. They're going to try scaring us again. But listen, this time's not going to shut the United States down. So we'll see how it plays out. There's going to be a lot of drama. Drama meaning, you're going to have half, of America saying, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to wear a face mask. And you're going to have the other half saying, I'm not going anywhere. Or I'm going to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be north against the south. And
yep.
I don't see the air clearing for another year or so. I really think it's going to take, 2022. I think we're in for a tough road for a while just because we're so divided right now, and but I say we do end the year. I think once the temperature gets to about 100 degrees outside, I think that's going to be the game changer. Because, it's going to be 100 damn degrees outside.
Yes, sir.
And people are going to go, hey, the last thing we need to be worried about is the damn virus right now. Hell, we can't breathe as it is, in August. So, but I see a couple months of good stuff. I think July and August, everything's going to be clean and green. I think we'll be racing. And but I don't see anything else. I don't see no 70,000 people in
no
college football games, for another couple of years.
Nope.
So, hey, Kenny, I want to talk about. We talked about the just now about the pay-per-view stuff. As from your promoter hat put on, does the Facebook Live at the racetrack, does that really piss you off, or is it just one of those inevitable things that you got to deal with technology as it comes?
Well, it did piss us off at the start, 7 years ago, because we felt like we're being, robbed, right? So, somebody goes to the racetrack, they film the races, and everybody stays home and watches it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how the hell are we supposed to make a living?
Right.
So, but now, look, this, dirt on dirt, Dirt Vision, Speed 51, hell, it saved racing during the damn pandemic. So what I really like is they're sharing the money now. If you're going to live stream the racetrack, then you need to buy the rights. Half of the profit needs to go to the racetrack. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So as long as we keep that going, then everything's good.
Yeah, I totally agree. Kenny, this has been fun, my friend, and hell, now we're in rain delay, so
right.
So we're not missing a whole lot. But so for you, I think, are you headed to Oklahoma, or were you just in Oklahoma? What you got coming up next few weeks?
We're doing both. We've done both.
Okay.
We've run 12 races this year. 6 down at Volusia, a couple in Wichita, Texas, where I drove some IMCA stock cars. Then me and Schrader, together, we went up to Park Jefferson, South Dakota. We raced a couple nights. Then we went down to Ardmore, Oklahoma. And lo and behold, Ardmore called me back up. We're going to have a big Southern Sports Mod race there on Thursday next week, June 11th.
Yeah.
And, a couple of weeks from now, I guess. I don't know what the hell. But anyway, June 11th, I got my date.
Hell,
day's Monday.
I don't know what today is. Yeah.
Yeah. So Thursday, June 11th, I'll be back at Southern Oklahoma Raceway, Ardmore, Oklahoma, and be joining, the Southern Sports Mod. I'll be there, and I just got done racing there about 3 weeks ago, so I know what I'm in for. I'm looking forward to getting back there.
Got to figure out a way to get you to Texas. Yeah, we got a lot of tracks up here. We'll get you out here and come show these guys. Come show these guys and ladies how to do it.
I hear you. Well, listen, thanks for having me on, and I appreciate you all.
Absolutely. You bet, man. And enjoy the race, and let's keep in touch.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Take care. There he is, Kenny Wallace. And that, Bobby, he said a lot of what we say. How many times is it we get somebody like that on, and it's like, okay, you heard it from somebody else?
Well, you think after all this time that they would actually realize that occasionally we know what we're talking about, right? we never write the checks that the promoters do, but we also understand the promoter's perspective. That's the best part about it. Kenny Wallace was onto something when he talked about TV money. We've mentioned TV money before. That's the only reason they're running without fans in the Cup Series. But I do like what he was talking about. It goes back into the Speed Pass that Race on Texas is working with some of these local short tracks around our area, is that it's all about revenue sharing. That's the one thing that you end up having to remember, that yes, you're paying X amount of money for the races, but if you really think about it, the Speed Pass deal for $39.95, a lot of that money gets to go to your home track. Even our friends down at Speed 51, the stuff that they do on pay-per-view, they don't just do the Snowball Derby, they do almost all of the Super Southern Series races.
Yeah, and I mean, it really is a matter of having that partnership there where whether it is Race On or 51 or whoever it is, to have that, because you are, I mean, those are buying the rights is really what's happening there. And it's a lot of damn work. I mean, I can tell you what the package that Race On is doing now. I sat there and watched Tony and those guys Saturday night with what they put together. I went back and watched it, and I mean, it looked pretty damn flawless. Other than Joe and I sounding like idiots, man, that is a lot of work. That is a lot of work, and that really is the future right there. And that doesn't keep people away. That keeps that allows people that can't get there the opportunity. Most people want to go, but I love the streaming because it really has. It's saving the sport.
Well, it's definitely changed the game in terms of what it's been able to do. You can go from watching it on your phone to watching it on the computer. You and I have both been guilty of taking it off the laptop and throwing it up on the biggest TV in the house.
Absolutely.
To watch it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it now is that you can do that. I mean, can you imagine if we'd had the streaming back in the days of Longhorn and in San Antonio, all of this when, I mean, especially for you and I, Bobby, like with San Antonio, I mean, hell, we live out in damn Caldwell, Hayes County. I mean, that San Antonio was a long ass way to go. If we could just dial up, San Antonio Speedway and pop it up on a TV, man, talk about ease, man. It really is. It is the way of the future. And I mean, you hear it right there from a promoter. And that's where we're going. That is really where we're going.
I mean, I don't think you're going to see it, especially at the short track level where you have more people watching a pay-per-view than you do in the grandstands.
Yeah.
Your Big Daddy events. I expect that at the Snowball Derby, right? Because it's one of
Yep.
the biggest short track races of the year, and it only holds X number of people. I expect the numbers for that to be off. I expect more people to be watching it. Some of your bigger events, I think the Rattler kind of the same way. Your more established events are going to have more people that's going to watch it on pay-per-view than be in the grandstands. But I think really for your local short track, without even getting into the numbers with Race on Texas, you're probably looking at probably close to maybe a 50-50 split, where for just about as many people in the grandstands, might be a few less on pay-per-view, but might be right about this, especially with the pandemic. It's going to be, Kenny Wallace alluded to it, people are going to be deciding that they don't want to go nowhere. They just want to sit at home. And if they normally were supporters of Cotton Bowl, then they're going to go and get the Speed Pass package, and then they're going to want to watch Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, and it really does. It does allow the racetracks, if you get this in the right hands. And I mean, that's where we need to, as established veteran race fans, whatever you want to call it, racing insiders, whatever it is, and just everyone, because whether you're a driver, a crewman, whatever, you are a racing insider, whether you realize it or not, or whether you want to be or not. That's where we need to tell these people, hey, check this out. Check out Speed Pass. Check out, Pit Road TV. I mean, this what it does. We were talking about just now with NASCAR, and Kenny Wallace said the same thing right there, where that is kind of the thing that drives us. If we can put these streaming platforms in front of people, especially with the productions that they're putting together now, I mean, this stuff looks totally legit. You put that in front of new people, you're more apt to get them out to South Texas or to 37 or Heart of Texas or wherever it may be. This is a good thing. We're going in the right direction.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked out the new and improved interface there with Race on Texas, you need to do yourself a favor and hook up over there with our friends. We're not the kings of shameless self-promotion, but Race on Texas is doing a really good service here. You heard about the breaking news here a couple of weeks ago about Speed Pass, but definitely go in and check it out, because if you decided, like we said at the top of the show, if you decide that you don't want to go somewhere because you don't want to be out, you don't want to be anything, check it out. Try to support your local racetrack any way that you can.
Yeah. So speaking of that, coming up here in the next few days, it's going to be, of course, this is all weather permitting. I think that we're past the weather stuff, at least here for a little bit. But coming up in the next couple of days, I mean, Friday you've got the Sooner Late Model Series over at Monarch. Heart of Texas is Friday and Saturday, and then with Cotton Bowl on Saturday as well. And then as you get into the following week, Texana, 37, RPM Speedway. So there's lots of places. Where you can catch it or catch it on a stream. And that's what we need to do, because you heard it there from Kenny. We are in a very, very tough spot.
Well, we really are. I think that him as a promoter, he's thinking all the way out to 2022 before this is going to be done. Still got a lot of stuff to think about in terms of, it really is going to depend on how it shakes out this fall. The way that they handle these college football games is going to be really interesting. I think that Iowa State was the first one that announced that their capacity is going to be set at their season ticket holders only. That's it. No individual game tickets sold.
Yeah, and that's where that's going to get really, really tough, because, I mean, let's take UT here, for example. There's, I don't know, in excess of 60,000 season ticket holders, and I mean those are the people that want to be in. I mean the students. So there's a fine line there, but I think we really do need to prepare ourselves for a lot of that. I mean, the NFL has made no bones about it. They plan to have. I mean, I'm hearing packed stadiums. I'm hearing all of this, but at some point, that's going to be where the state governments will get involved with all of that. And when we start doing that, I mean, that varies from state to state. And where it sucks for the colleges is depending how these curves are in these states. I mean, you may have some states, maybe here in Texas, where you're able to play a lot of games, but other states, I mean, you go up north and hell, they're still in all kinds of trouble. And like Kenny was talking about, they're going to continue to tell us that it's coming back around, and it may be, and maybe it's not. We just don't know.
Well, if you think about it, the Pac-12 commissioner has pretty much said that they're not going to play any games other than conference games. So that's going to throw off everything in terms of how that. You got a USC Alabama match coming up at Jerry World. The rumor to replace USC has been TCU.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I mean, we are starting to see. I've been out a lot, and I can tell you just from the business side, on the real estate side of everything, things are opening up. People are a lot more comfortable. I mean, they're starting to want to expand that money. You know, whether they've had it put away or whether they're realizing through this that real estate is a great investment. I don't know. Those are probably both cases, but. I mean, I've been out and about in Williamson, Travis County, even Hayes County the last 2 weeks, nonstop. And I can tell you, in the mornings, we're back into a lot of that gridlock again. We're easing up. We're easing up. People are getting comfortable, and it's starting to feel like it did before.
Well, it's starting to feel. Obviously, you're going to have your industries that are still going to be late to respond. A lot of your customer-facing stuff has still got a long ways to go before you're able to do that stuff, and depending on some of your offices and stuff like that. But it seems like you're right. I mean, when there's a line, 50 people deep to get into Ross, that's when you know the economy's picking back up.
Yeah. And seriously, like we were saying earlier, everybody, I mean, there's a lot of hate, and I mean, we don't need to be doing that. And it's hard. It's frustrating. I can tell you today when I was talking about the eyeglasses thing, seriously, I was losing my shit just sitting there waiting. But it's a product of what we have to deal with. I mean, whether it's justified or not, we need to stay apart, and we need to respect each other, and that's where the world, not just our country, is lacking a lot. Respect is such a huge thing, and we old timers are grown up. We're taught to respect people, and these days now, I think even a lot of we old timers are forgetting to respect people. And the youngsters, a lot of times, certainly aren't. So I think that's just what we need to do right now. You want to wear a mask? Wear a mask. That's your prerogative. And just be done with it.
Well, and I think you have to be smart of your surroundings, right? Like you and I, we've done this Zoom stuff and for the show, but we also sit rather close together there when we go to do the studio stuff, on the weekends. So I think you have to be comfortable in your own surroundings. I mean, I just planned a trip to the beach. I'm not going to go to the Hawaii beach. Yeah, I'm not going to go to the Hawaii beach like I thought I was going to, and I'm still going to a beach. And that was the decision that we made. Okay, so who do we hang out with that we know that we're not worried about, contracting anything from? And we kind of had the group of friends, and that was the ones we decided. Everybody said, you know what? We've done enough sitting on the couch. Let's go have some fun.
Yeah, when Aaron Hogan called and said, "Are you guys ready to get Revved Up ATX back on?" Pretty much said we need to get it back on. Obviously we're getting back to racing. It was gave us the opportunity to say no or a way to do it a different way if we needed to, whether it be on tape or whatever. Gave us the remote location to do it at, but. I mean, you and I mean, while we don't spend time together because we can't, or, with all of this going on, we don't do this together right now. I know that you haven't had a fever. I know you haven't had any of these symptoms. So obviously we go do that. I mean, don't put yourself, like you're saying, in a situation, and especially that. I mean, you run on into Walmart and want to be up in everybody's grill. I mean, that's probably not the thing to do, especially if you're older. And if you're older, you're more susceptible to this. Just use a little bit of common sense, and that seems to be what's lacking most of the times when it comes to situations like this.
Yeah, common sense is the first thing to go, right?
It's a bitch,
Some people
man.
just a lot of people didn't have it before this whole pandemic, and now there's a whole hell of a lot of people that don't have any common sense about it.
Yeah, no doubt. And as we said, I mean, it turned out we're still in rain delay over here, so I guess the rain gods kind of stepped in here to make sure that we were going to be able to get this in. And this has been a fun show, and we need to podcast that Kenny Wallace up, because I know a lot of people are doing other things here on Thursday night, but a lot of what he said is pretty powerful and pretty damn matter of fact and to the point. That is hashtag real race talk right there.
That's what we try to do. We try to get the people that are going to bring the real race talk. Sometimes you never know who we're going to get, because sometimes they do, like you like to say, Rodney. Sometimes they return the calls. We're like, oh, really? Okay, cool.
and it happens really, really quick. I mean, it happens really, really quick where stuff jumps up. Another great one to listen to when we talked to Eddie Gossage on Saturday on the radio show. That was really good. And again, just very matter of fact, the way that I love the way he told when we asked him about trying to get the IndyCar race. He said, well, we called the governor and said, well, we really want to do this. And that just gives Eddie Gossage at Texas Motor Speedway, that's people that we want in our favor. And being that Texas is opening up a little bit, it's because of guys like Eddie Gossage and TMS. I mean, that's bottom line. That's bottom line.
Yeah, no spoilers for the Saturday show, but like we talked to Eddie about, is that when the governor uses auto racing in the same vein as talking about football and baseball in this state, that's when you know he's either had somebody in his ear and he's really paying attention to racing in Texas.
And actually, the last that I saw, Bobby, because you actually, man, I wish we'd had the breaking sounder yesterday. I had a show going on, because when you sent me that tweet from Adam Stern, I hadn't seen, like I said, I didn't want to dispute what Stern was saying, because he's a valued friend of the show as well. But I mean, this didn't come out till today, and Stern was reporting this yesterday.
Stern was reporting it yesterday.
Yeah.
We were both surprised when we saw that, because it looks like Texas could have had fans in the grandstands for the IndyCar race, but I respect Eddie's decision to not wait to the last minute to try to sell tickets.
Yeah, and again, that's probably a good thing to do. I mean, like he said, and I think a lot of what Eddie's perspective is with there's not any TV money there. They're going to take a loss anyway. So I think at this point, it's just a matter of getting it. You're getting it on big TV. You're getting it on NBC, which he teased last Saturday, and it came out Monday. But you're doing that. But NASCAR, when NASCAR comes back, you better damn bet your ass that you're going to have at least 25% in that place.
I'm going to shoot for 50.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think it's going to be 50% full, because Texas can handle it.
Yeah.
As long as there's 2 seats up in the media center, that's all I'm concerned with, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll do. I mean, I know, like at CBS the other night, I don't know what the other tracks are doing because I haven't been there. They've got every other row. I mean, it's every other row, and the plans are in place. So get out and support your local track if you feel you're safe enough doing that, and if you don't have the opportunity, stream that bad boy. You have that now. You have that now, and that's just another way to help our sport and keep it going.
Yep. But it's been a fun one. It's been a short one, but it's been a fun show. Appreciate Kenny Wallace for coming in and making some time for us.
Yep.
It sounds like he's got a pretty busy schedule.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's having fun. That dude's enjoying life, and hey, man, can't fault the guy for that. It's a good dude. Good dude.
Can't fault him for that.
And he's not, seriously, he told me, he's like, I'm not doing a lot of these anymore, but I'm going to do it for you guys. So that's much appreciated. As we said, there's your racing schedule. Lots of it happening. If you can't get there, find it online. Hey, we're back on 11 o'clock on Saturday. Check in on the horn, and I guess we'll figure out when we'll do this again.
Yeah, well, maybe it'll be Monday. You
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah. I think we may have a pocket there as we get to normal stuff here with NASCAR, but try not to jump on top of that. Good stuff. We'll have it archived here very, very soon. Thank you all for checking this out. Bobby, have a great rest of the week, my man.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Got one more day to go till you get to Saturday.
Absolutely. Friends, be nice to someone. You never know what they're going through. You're going to feel better as well afterwards. This is Real Race Talk from Texas. Have a great rest of the week, everybody.